You collect all your pictures and you're looking for the ratio of immature birds to mature.
Yes. Yep. And particularly looking at it like juveniles to adult females. With adult males, there can be kind of some more little biases kind of involved with that, but we could have a little bit more of a direct comparison with adult females to young birds.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that was the key data point that we were looking for, and the reason why this is such a useful data source that can tell us so much is because this post breeding age ratio gives us an idea of everything that happened prior to that. So the number of nests that were successful, the number of nests that were actually initiated, so your breeding propensity of the population, you can, and your brood survival, and also the number of birds that actually make the young birds that actually make it through migration to arrive on the wintering grounds to areas where they're actually going to be hunted. So that's important as well, because we know that not necessarily there might be a lot of birds that make it out of the breeding season, but they might not actually make it to areas where they're going to be hunted.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was so it's a very useful data point because it kind of puts together all these factors and gives us one number where we can say, okay, this gives us an index of how many young birds are on the landscape this year. And with that, you can roll that into your other population information to give you an idea of where what the population trajectory is going to look like. And ultimately, that's very useful to how managers decide to set bag limits and seasons for all these species. And I kind of can talk about this a little bit too. But with sea ducks, we tend to be it's important to be cautious with their populations because they can be more susceptible to overharvest than other waterfowl populations because they're very long-lived species. They take longer to become sexually mature. So they're usually not breeding and paired up until their third year.
Really? What's their lifespan generally?
So they can live 20, 25 years.
Wow, I did not realize that.
They're kind of like geese in that.
Uh-huh.
Their population ecology is a lot more like geese than ducks, and like they have like long-term pair bonds. A lot of species do, where they'll breed in consecutive years with the same male and female pair.
And puddle ducks are what, 6, 7, 8 years? I mean, I've heard of clear up to like 13, but that would be a really
they can get older, but and again, like 90% of birds aren't making it that long. They're only going to make it 2 or 3 years. So it's usually kind of exceptional individuals that are able to make it that long. But with sea ducks, it's very normal for them to be 10, 15 years old. So that's something that definitely distinguishes them a little bit. And they're just not, they don't lay as many eggs. They don't have as many young. They're not quite as reproductively abundant, I suppose. I guess you would say. It's just they're not producing as many. They don't have the capacity for producing as many young. So that requires managers to be a little more cautious. And, there was kind of some concern maybe that we were over harvesting sea ducks, and we didn't necessarily have the data to demonstrate what exactly is happening with populations. So it was important to get a better picture of what the population is looking like, and that's where this project came in.
Right. And were there any conclusions drawn about population?
Yeah, sure. So I think as far as what I was able to do, we're kind of able to get an idea of what the trends in productivity were looking like over time. Generally it doesn't fluctuate a ton with sea ducks, maybe relative to mallards, because they're not responding to as kind of dynamic breeding conditions as, say, the prairies. The prairies can be very variable year over year. But, so generally that's kind of what I was focused on, is more just the recruitment angle. But, generally I think that what we know is that over time, populations are either stable or steadily declining. But, generally I think over the years that I saw with productivity, it was, maybe a little bit on the higher side in most recent years. So that probably bodes well for, population trends over time. But, we are still lacking population estimate for a lot of these species as well. So it's hard to say exactly where we're at with our sea duck numbers. But I think we have a better picture now than what we did in the past, and I think that will be beneficial for harvest management.
Thank you for watching this clip from the North American Waterfowler podcast. Make sure and subscribe. If you want to see the full episode of this podcast, go to the description where you can click the link. And as always, starting up September, I will be posting all of my waterfowl hunting videos for this coming hunting season.